Burkhard Heim was a genius and grew in genius through his life. A genius is not inherent within the protein. It's a method of accessing knowledge. All knowledge exists, and there's a method of accessing it. So he was already a genius when he had his accident in 1944. And what he's built is a fusion device. A fusion anti-gravity device is what he's constructed from what he knew then. Okay? And he didn't have Lewe. Who knows who helped him? Who was there at that time? Who was watching him? Because the system requires fission, atomic energy. The system, it already decided back in 27 that fission was how they were going to access the energy, and they didn't want this other energy because they knew that led to God. If they went down fission route, God could be just removed, dismantled from the system, and documents could be inserted that breaks the link to God. So they wanted fission, but nonetheless they were very interested because Heim was really making some amazing progress on things they hadn't thought about. But they didn't give him Lewe. So he blew his hands off. And it was a fusion explosion, is what he describes. When you just read his accident, there's only a couple of sentences, and read the description of the explosion as a fusion explosion in his hands. And how do I know it's fusion? Because he was not radioactive. He led a perfectly happy, healthy life with no hands, and a brilliant, brilliant man. Now, let me tell you what then happened to Mr. Heim. He was stretched in time. He was inside a nuclear fusion explosion for a moment, and that everything inside his membrane was stretched. And from that moment on, he had access to more information. He just had to translate it. And he did. And he gave us his theory of elemental particles, which is the theory of everything. Already there. With slight modifications here and there, based on what we now are introducing Lewe. Because at the beginning of Heim, he makes the assumption that there are these constants of nature, and he has to make assumptions. They are assumptions. But they're not anymore, because Lewe proves them. It shows what they are, 2 dimensions creating 3. It's a balance of forces, energy created from a balance of forces, a valve system, 3 fixed points, motion, twists inside and outside, a one-sided surface, has 2 sides, a shell structure of a sphere has an orifice, a needle jet. Okay? That's all there. The vector axis and the positive moment are the 2 dimensions described by Heim from Lewe in that model that I've drawn. So I too have accessed this genius. I found a way of doing it. And Heim connected with me. I'm absolutely certain of it. Just never heard of the bloke till last week. And yet here I am presenting to you the theory of everything. 3 documents to be represented and translated for a new audience who are ready to hear the truth. Johannes Stein, Matrix, Calculus and Relativity, 1914. Victor Lewe, Matrix, Calculus and Bending Moments, 1915. Burkhard Heim, Theory of Elemental Particles, 1957. From those 3 documents, we have the truth. And the truth is then disclosure, and disclosure brings peace. How? Through truth, to bring justice. Next chapter. Welcome to New Earth.